Hey everyone, I'm the Tailorette and I will be working on my dirndl today. Now most of you who are subscribed to me know that I went shopping on Tuesday to pick out most of my fabric for my dirndl. I actually went and picked up some more fabric today, which bad llama. Okay, now to get started on the actual project. Here is my, actually looks a little bit more red, but I'm okay with that. I feel like it's gonna have a little bit more of a peasant look with the tealish blue and that reddish kind of color over there and the apron fabric here. I'm gonna run to the store that gets some under fabric that's white, but a little bit more toned down than that because you've got muted and then bright white. Okay, so this is the pattern that I plan on using. It's from Folkwear. And there are maybe a few adjustments I might have to make, I'm not sure, but I like the basic idea. And what I love about this pattern is that inside they give us these different papers, and it's not just like your basic pattern where they just tell you the instructions and give you the pieces. They actually give the history on the dirndl and they talk about the different fabrics that you want to use. So I read a little bit of that, and I'm not necessarily going to go period correct on this one because I actually want to try different creative ideas and step outside the box. So there are two different options. There's this one that has darts going from the waist up to the bodice over, and then you have this one right here that just has gussets in the front. And even though I'm changing up my construction just a little bit, I'm going to breeze over the construction just briefly so that I can get an idea of what's going on here. So I'm going to start cutting out the bodice first. I'm doing the pattern a little bit different. I'm going to have a lining in the bodice. So I'm going to use this as the inside just to make it a little bit more fun. And then this will be the outer fabric of the bodice. This fabric actually does have a direction, so I'm trying to shift this around. It's a very subtle direction, you can't tell, but for me who looks closer, I want a peace of mind with this. And I am in fact repeating that all those steps into the lining, except I don't have to do pattern matching. So I'm actually going to do the lining first and fit that to the bodice and then repeat it to the outer shell. I tried it on myself and it fit great. So this was enough ease for me to move around and feel comfortable. So I'm just gonna leave it right here, and it looks odd because this is low and necklines are usually not that low, right? Well, there's gonna be a blouse underneath. So I had to get used to that as well too in my brain. So I'm gonna start on the actual outer shell, which is really exciting. Excellent. I think we're doing pretty good here, except God, these darts on the side are just so pokey. I don't know why that is. So the first thing I'm working on is the side darts at the top part of the bodice. I drew a line for the dart and now I'm trying to match them on both sides on the fold. And now for the gusset to go in here. This is important to get this right, so I'm actually going to change my thread so it matches. Attaching all side seams and shoulder seams. Okay, so drastic change of scenery. I just went and ate dinner and now it's dark, so I am actually not going to put this project on hold because I want to work on it tonight because I'm just way too excited about it. Here is the general idea of the bodice. I love it with that color. However, I don't like how that fabric is draping. So I'm a little bit undecided about that. And I'm going to connect the lining to the bodice here. But first, before I do that, I'll put the boning in. All right, so I'm just going to use plastic boning for this part. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'll put one in the back, one on each of the side seams, and then in the front here, I'll put one there, and then put one here is what I'm thinking. So yeah, this comes with a casing, so I'm going to stitch it to the inside of the lining, and then that way the casing won't show. All right, so I'm thinking I'll put one on a diagonal here, kind of do it like that. Yep. I actually do have a video on how to use plastic boning and I'll put the link down below, so I won't walk through that here, but I'll put the video down below. Alrighty, and now I'm taking my lining, both my lining and my outer shell, and I'm putting them face right sides together, matching seams, and I'm going to sew them together around the neckline, and this is going to finish off this neck edge. Kind of like I do the Regency dresses. This is not in the directions. So here's one thing. The instructions tell me that I'm supposed to hem the edge, and there actually is no lining. So yeah, it'll just be hemmed 1/4 inch. This would be turned under or folded under and then whip stitched or something like that. And then because I'm gonna do boning in there, I'm actually going to do a casing. I'm gonna stitch 1/4 inch from this edge. So I'm literally gonna flip it right side out because it's inside out right now. And then I'm going to stay stitch around the neck edge. Just sticking it right in there. Stay stitching's done, so I'm gonna head to the iron and press it out. So I finished pressing the neckline. However, I tried it on and I felt like it needed a little bit more boning, so I added some more in there. And now that's finished. So now it's ready for the armholes to be finished. However, I may do that in the morning. So good night for now. Morning, I'm so excited to get going on my dress. I'm hoping to get the base of the skirt and the bodice all finished, and then I'll have a separate video finishing with the finishing touches of doing the trim around the neckline and adding the blouse into the top. So next step is the armholes need to be finished off. They are raw, so I'm going to use this material. I'm going to make a bias tape and then sew it around the edge and hand stitch it down on the inside. And slice her up. For this next part, I'm going to fold my strip in half like this and press it all the way down. Although my iron's not heated up, I need to wait for it to heat up. All right, and I think I'll start stitching down at the bottom of this sleeve here. This is kind of awkward because it's a sleeve hole, but I'm going to make it work on my machine. I'm gonna start right here. Trimming this on the inside now that I've stitched it so that it doesn't confine the arm. And what I'll do is I'm going to stay stitch the bias tape down. I'll show you that in a minute so that it's a clean edge. So now, just like I've done in many of my other videos, I'm stitching right at that edge, right where that seam line is, and stitching it down. I just realized that I actually probably should have done 1/4 inch around the armholes. I just stitched it. I'll be going to the iron after this and pressing it down, and so it ends up being a clean edge like that. So I flip it inside out like this, stick it on the iron. I'll basically just press it open, or press it to the inside, not press it open. I probably could have gone with a thinner bias tape, but it is what it is for right now. I'll make it work. I can press it out. This makes a really nice clean edge. Yeah, definitely if you do this, I would do a thinner bias tape. This is going to work. However, for a nice pristine look, I would go for a thinner bias tape. Maybe cut it at 2 inches instead of 2.5 probably, or 2 1/4, something like that. So this next part, I'll be hand stitching the edge down. I'll just be grabbing the lining, not going all the way through. And I'll do that on both armholes, and then the top is done. Aside from the trim that I plan on doing later. Alrighty, so remember how I was struggling with which skirt material I was going to use? I was a little bit concerned that this teal color would actually be too stiff. However, I was texting my friend Anne, and she told me to throw it in the wash. So I did, and it did loosen it up just a little bit. I still really like this color. I just don't know how I'm gonna like the way it floats. Unless I press it. I probably could press it really nice if I did that. I threw it in the wash and it frayed like nuts. I went to the store so I could make a second dirndl, and I got it for this color right here, which I don't want to mess up this color combo. But worst case, I might have to use this, maybe. So there's also the cotton that I used for the lining. I could use this as well. However, I feel like it just doesn't make it pop. I wanted to have a contrasting color. So this is kind of sort of last resort. I'm not sure. Or I could use the same color or the same fabric in the skirt as well. Yeah, this would drape really nicely. However, I'm a little bit bummed because I wanted to use this material for something else. First thought is I'm gonna mess with this a little bit. I may decide not to go with it, but I'm gonna see if I can make it work. Okay, so this is a mess. I'm gonna have to try and trim it up. All these big clumps right here. I'm just gonna literally clip them off. Look at that clump right there. That is just ridiculous. If I am going to use this, I will most likely pleat the skirt because if I gather it, it's just gonna look really junky. I do, in fact, want to put pockets in my skirt as well. So I'm gonna put the seams on the side instead of the front like they told me to. Now it definitely looks like it's floating. However, if I pressed it really good so that all of these pleats are completely flat, I think that might help things a little bit. For the experiment, just to say I've tried it, I think I might do it anyway. Not to be a killjoy here, but I'm actually going to stop the video right now, and I will continue this video in a second part that will be coming out on Tuesday with the skirt, the trim, and everything will be in that video. So hit the subscribe button, like this video, and I will see you all Tuesday.